Hi guys, welcome back to our channel.
Thanks for joining us. In 2019, we paid off $100,000 in debt, so we created this channel to try to influence others to live without loans. Today, we're actually going to be talking about 5 unpopular opinions we have about finances.
The first unpopular opinion that we have is that we don't believe in car payments. There's an article by Lending Tree Out that says the average car payment in 2022 is $644 a month. That's quite a bit of money. If you added that up for 2 years and paid yourself $644, you'd have a little over $15,000. That's more than enough money to buy a quality, reliable used car, and you don't have to buy a brand new car and pay that much a month. It's just something we don't agree with. It's just another way to tie up your money and be in debt.
Yeah, actually, the car that Dennis drives right now, we actually got for about $15,000. We've had it for about 6 years now. So, reliable Honda Civic. So, of course, if there's still cars going for that price, I know there's inflation going on and all that, but there's still prices like that right now where you can buy a car, where you don't have to have a car payment, save up to get one. And that's something that we definitely feel is achievable. So number 2 definitely is an unpopular opinion that we have, which is actually that we don't look to get a tax refund around tax time. We actually believe in paying a lesser amount throughout the year so that we are getting closer and closer to a $0 refund. Obviously, that's everyone's situation's different. I do want to say I'm not a tax professional. This is what we do with our experience. This is our own opinions. But we do have a couple of kids, so that affects our refund, but we pay less throughout the year, and we look to get a refund. Typically it comes out to being more around the 400 range, but still that's very unpopular because most people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that that's something we try to do. We feel strongly about that because really what your tax refund is an overpayment that you paid on your federal taxes throughout the year. You paid too much throughout the year, so they're giving you a refund on your overpayment, basically. So really what we want to do is not give, what you're really doing is giving a loan to the government, giving them too much money up front. So with feeling like that, I'd rather give less. I've also heard a lot of horror stories around tax time. We all know the IRS is very busy during that time. A lot of times people don't get their refunds for weeks, for months, by the end of the year. So me personally, I don't trust it. I don't want them holding on to my money. I want to keep my money on my paycheck throughout the year. And then once tax time rolls around, if there's something owed, it's not much. I don't know that we've ever owed maybe like $100, if that, but I know last year we didn't owe. And that all comes into something as well that we'll talk about in another video called sinking funds, where if you feel like you're going to owe anything, come tax time, put money aside throughout the year. So that way once tax time comes, you're not worried about it. It's not something that is a burden on you. But like I said, we've never owed a crazy significant amount. With how much tax time, when tax time comes, we definitely are looking closer to get to 0 or just a small, maybe $300 refund. We're not looking for a refund really. So that's an unpopular opinion that we have regarding tax refunds. Number 3 is going to be financing electronics. Is an unpopular opinion that we have that's not something that we like to do. We'd rather save up and pay it in cash if we can. Actually, not if we can. That's something that we like to do, period. As far as if other people can save up and pay in cash for something, I know it's not something that people often do. It's not common, but we definitely think that it's something that can be done. So that goes for things we've heard of being financed, being Apple Watches, iPads, iPhones, super common to put that on your bill. But it would create something better for you in the future, not having a payment on a phone, which is the most common thing.
Yeah, for the longest time, I had, back in about 2016 or so, I had the iPhone 5. I had that for so many years. I used to get made fun of sometimes at work for having the older phone. It still worked fine. It was paid off. I didn't have to worry about financing. And then that was just more money in our pockets, not spent on a phone payment. And just last year, we were able to buy the newest iPhone out in cash and choose our storage and everything. So it just adds up over time, and we just don't believe in financing electronics at all. Number 4 on our list is leveraging debt to buy rental properties. Now, I know this is a big one for a lot of people. I've heard of a lot of people using debt to buy rental properties. We don't believe in that. And a few reasons. The main reason is you're not factoring in risk. When you have a rental property with debt on it, a lot of people are thinking about the monthly rent income you're going to get from that, but you're not factoring in the risk of your tenant paying on time, paying you, and like if we were to buy a rental property, we'd have to do it in cash because that eliminates all the risk. So for instance, the 2020 eviction moratorium, you actually legally couldn't get evicted for not paying rent. And it's just situations like these that keep me out of leveraging debt to buy real estate. You have no guaranteed source of income, and your expenses may outweigh your income because you have to think about things like property taxes, maintenance, insurance on the home. Things like this can add up.
Yeah. And I saw a TikTok video recently. TikTok has been very popular with influencing others to actually leverage debt to get rental properties because of the income that can be made. But I actually saw a TikTok video kind of on the other side where the individual had a tenant who was not paying, did not pay for several months, I think 4 months in a row it was. And if I can find this video, I'll somehow try to find a way to link that. But the person did not pay for several months. And so the landlord or the person who owned this property was actually coming out of pocket to pay the mortgage every month in order to be able to make sure he's not, getting behind on the mortgage payments. It was a very hard time for this person. They had just gone through other things, so they weren't able to really go through the eviction process. But it can really be risky for you as far as doing something like that, because if that person doesn't pay, and I'm sure we've all heard horror stories of people not paying, trashing the property, just a lot goes into it. So if, my husband and I ever decided to have a rental property, which I really just, like I said, I've heard a lot of horror stories, so I'm hesitant on it. But if we did, it'd be something that we, have to use our equity to buy that, maybe selling if we ever decide to sell our home, or, just paying it in cash. It's not something where I want to ever get back into debt if I don't have to, or if it's just not some, God forbid, some terrible situation that had to happen. But that's just something that I'm looking to pay in cash. If I'm looking to have some type of income or passive income, I don't want there to be any risk involved.
Getting this mortgage that we have now really ingrained in my mind that I never want to get a mortgage again, just because of all the hoops you have to jump through and documents you have to send, and it's just a stressful experience. I'd rather pay for it entirely in cash, know I own it outright, and any income I get from a tenant would be positive cash flow.
Yeah, you definitely have to sign a bunch of documents, do all these things, jump through all their hoops. Like, it was, when we were going through that process, you're excited to get a house, but it was actually super stressful. I know we've seen videos before, or other people have probably seen videos where they'll say, oh, you didn't get your 8th page of your bank statement, you got to start all over, you got to send this other document. Like, it's just a lot. So it's just another reason why you really have to do a lot when you're trying to get into debt. It's just not worth it to us at this point. Number 5, last but not least, this one's probably going to make a lot of people upset, but it's something that we feel very strongly about. It's number 5 being that student loan borrowers are not victims. I know that a lot of people feel that student loans can be very predatory, which that's, it may be the case that young people are making a decision for the rest of their life, because you can be in debt for the rest of your life and they're not fully informed, or it just might be the norm. But overall, how we feel is that you definitely signed up for that loan. You said that you'd pay it back, whether you're 18 or 22 trying to get into more debt to further your education. It's something that you agreed to pay. We don't feel that student loan borrowers are victims like they're painted out to be. necessarily. I see, a lot with my line of work, young people signing up for credit cards all the time, straight out of high school or maybe the summer before college. The interest rates on credit cards are a lot higher than student loans are at this time here as we're filming this in 2022. Don't know what could happen in the future, but the interest rate, if you look at your monthly statement on a credit card, it's a lot just like anything else. People stay in credit card debt for years, for decades. So we just don't think it's as predatory as people try to make it seem. And Dennis can talk a little bit more about his experience from when he signed up for loans.
Yeah, when you first get a student loan, in order to receive it or get it paid out to your school, you have to sign something called a promissory note. And I remember back when I was 18 or so, when I signed up for my first student loans, it was kind of like this paragraph you had to read, and it explained a lot about interest in the student loan. And honestly, I didn't really read it. I just kind of skipped to the end, signed it because I knew I wanted to get the loan to pay for school. I felt like there was no other option at the time. And in that note, it clearly states that you promise to pay it back. So we just don't feel like the borrowers are victims because you sign up for it. And yes, you want to further your education, but what we're trying to say is there are other ways to pay for it. Looking back, I didn't explore all my options, such as scholarships. There's so many scholarships out there, and we'll talk about it more in future videos. But I know there's scholarships I've heard of a scholarship for being tall, for an example, stuff like that. There's a bunch of them that might be like $500 to $1,000, and you may think that's little when you're paying thousands of dollars for a college education, but those $500 scholarships add up. So it's important to look for those resources, and also if you can pay in cash, that helps too. But that's what we believe.
Yeah, to further that, with the recent announcement by the Biden administration to cancel some people's debt up to $10,000 or $20,000, depending on what you qualify for, a lot of what I saw was like the first thing was people just saying that's not enough. I feel like that jumpstarts you so much from someone where, we had to pay a lot of student loans. He had about $80,000 in student loans, and it wasn't anything that it was canceled. We're not upset about that. We're very happy for everybody having this opportunity, and we feel like it can really jumpstart your debt-free journey to start paying on them and to actually pay them off. It's really unfortunate that, a lot of people have an astronomical amount of student loans, but we definitely think it's possible. You just have to get in that mindset. I know some people he knows have said that they don't really plan to pay it off still, saying that the $14,000 that would be left wouldn't be something that they're looking to pay still. So if you're one of those people, reach out to us because we definitely feel like it's possible. We could help you get on track if you need to look into a budget, anything like that, because we're really passionate about paying stuff like that off. And we feel like there's just so many different factors that we've mentioned in this video today that can really stop you from being able to pay off your debt, but it can be done. So that's something we feel very strongly about as far as like student loans. And I know that when you first graduate high school, you're automatically taught in America that you then have to go to college. But I think a lot of people they don't necessarily have a plan. I asked a lot of people when I was around that age what they plan to go for, what they plan to do. They didn't have a plan. They're just going. And it's a very expensive thing to just go do just to do it. So I definitely think you should have a plan before going. Know that not everybody goes to college. I never went to college. I would say that I'm somewhat successful. So it's not that you automatically have to do that. College isn't for everyone. But if you do feel like you want to go that route or you do have a plan, I would recommend starting with community college. Starting someplace that's not so expensive. I know there are extra fees associated with going out of state to go to college, things like that. Staying local could definitely help you out. So those are our 5 unpopular opinions that we have today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and we will catch you in our next video.